Predict, pick, and prevail in your fantasy football leagues with Nick Giacobbe and Nick Cap. From breakouts to busts, superstars to sleepers, these are the guys that will help you achieve fantasy glory. This is the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast.
Welcome everybody to week 9 and welcome to the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast live, where we give you our predictions, our picks, with the hopes that we hope you prevail throughout week 9. Well, I guess started Thursday, but continuing today and the rest of the 2023 fantasy football season. I'm your host, Nick Giacobbe. Joining me is Nick Cap. And Nick, we are live on a Sunday for the first time this season.
It only took halfway through the year, but you know what? We had some things happen. We were busy the first half, and Nick and I both agreed we wanted to get back to this as soon as we could, and we both now had the opportunity, so here we are.
Yeah, I guess I could kind of speak about it now. And to be clear, I had spoken about my job a couple times if you were listening to the weekly shows, and I never really publicly said where I worked. It was on my Instagram, Twitter, which is public technically, but I never said it on air. And that wasn't a rule. Nobody told me I couldn't. I did it for my own reasons. But I was working with CBS Sports previously. I was cutting highlights most nights. So literally when you were watching sports till 2 a.m. in the morning, so was I, but I was creating some highlights. So on a football Sunday, if football starts at 1, I'm in work by 12, and I'm also doing college stuff the night before. So with that said, waking up at 8:30, as much as I enjoy doing these live shows, was just not going to fly when I was up late the night before and then had to get in pretty early the next day. So that really wasn't going to fly. But I am no longer with CBS Sports. I made a personal career and life decision to move on. So I'm with another company now, and I'm really excited to do that stuff. But I'm also excited to get back on the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast on a weekly basis and on a live basis. So you will hear from us at least one show a week. Nick, if you didn't hear already, Nick is now a father, and congratulations to him. His son is now maybe a month old or something.
A month old today.
A month old today. So happy 1 month to Nick's son. Yeah, so you will get at least one show from us a week that will be recorded, and you'll get to listen on our audio streaming platforms and YouTube. And you'll get a live show every single Sunday. We're going to try to do 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. It might be a little bit later some mornings. Again, Nick's a father, so it might be a little bit later some mornings, but definitely 8:30 today and definitely 8:30 next week, as we have another, I think it's a Germany game. I don't think it's London. I think it's another Germany game next week. So we'll be live again 8:30 next Sunday. So before we get to the questions, this is a question show. We want to get as many questions answered as possible. You can drop those questions in the chats on YouTube and Facebook. If you're watching on Twitter, I'm sorry, but Twitter does not allow you to ask questions anymore. We won't see it on our feed. So you'll have to go to YouTube or Facebook to ask those questions. But we will get to your questions in a second. First, we want to give you some plugs like we always do. If this is your first time joining us, thank you so much. The live show is every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, bright and early, to answer all of your fantasy football questions. You could then find the shows that we do weekly on all our audio streaming platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, and Anchor. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. We would appreciate that. If you'd rather watch and listen to the show like you are doing right now, you can go to our YouTube channel, PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast, where we upload all episodes in video form. If you are on a YouTube channel for the first time, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any content from us. If you're watching a video, whether it's now or in the future, drop a like on that video, drop a comment, share that link with your friends and fellow league mates, and also hit the little bell on the top to receive notifications whenever we go live, whenever we drop a new episode, and anything else. Follow us and interact with us on all social media platforms: PrimeTimeFFPod on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, then PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast on Facebook and YouTube. If you have any questions throughout the week, or if you missed the live show, the best way to get your start sick questions is via our Twitter. All right, so we do have a first question. After we get through this first question, we'll start talking about each game, our favorite plays, least favorite plays. We'll kind of just go through the games throughout the show. And you guys can ask questions, and we will get to your question when we are done with our points. So from Prod by Seth, pick 3. DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Jacoby Myers, Tony Pollard, and Rashid Shaheed. I'm assuming this is PPR because most leagues are PPR. So, Nick, what 3 do you like?
I'd go to Rashee Rice first, and Tony Pollard. I think those are the two I want to lock in this week. Pollard for me is a must start every week. He's too explosive. The Cowboys historically against the Eagles have been very good. And Tony Pollard is a very, very explosive running back. He has no problem breaking that game open. And even though his season hasn't been the RB1, like many predicted, he has still been pretty consistent and a pretty good running back, more often than not on the field. He's just not getting that goal line work that you would want. So for me, I think he's a must start until he's given you a reason not to start him. Rashee Rice is going up against that Dolphins secondary that has been absolutely atrocious. Jalen Ramsey's back there now, but he will probably more likely than not shadow Kelsey. Rashee Rice is also expected to take a lot of Sky Moore snap count this week, which should be very good for him. And of the Kansas City receivers, he's definitely been the most consistent. And then I'd probably lean DJ Moore just on the pure talent perspective. I don't want Rashid Shaheed. For me, he's the fourth option on that team, and Taysom Hill will always be one of their goal line guys. So that's fifth most likely to catch a touchdown. You're banking on one deep pass making your week. Jacoby Myers has been awful so far. Or not awful. He's been very consistently good, but awful as of late with the inconsistencies of that team. Switching to a backup quarterback that's a rookie in his first or second start with a Jimmy G injury. There's a lot of not worth the start, and usually rookie quarterbacks rely on wide receiver one, running back, tight end. So Myers doesn't check any of those boxes. DJ Moore has been pretty consistent as of late, and he has not a favorable matchup against the Saints, but a game where the game script should favor him very heavily. So I would rather start the talent there. I don't think you bench a top 10 receiver for either of those guys.
Yeah, I think you have to play Tony Pollard and DJ Moore. These are guys, I know we're 9 weeks into the season, so it's kind of tough to be like, well, you drafted him, but I think it is tough to kind of bench a guy that you drafted within your top 4 picks. So I think DJ Moore is a wide receiver one on that team. He's the guy that is going to get the most work most weeks. So I think you have to play DJ Moore. Tony Pollard, he is the second option on that Cowboys offense behind CeeDee Lamb. So I think you have to play Tony Pollard almost every week. It's just tough to sit. And then for your third one, I like Nick's point about Rashee Rice, but I'm actually going to favor Jacoby Myers here. He's currently sitting as the wide receiver 21 on Fantasy Pros, and he missed a game or two with that concussion. He's had over, I'll say over 11. So again, is this PPR? I just want to make sure this is PPR. This is standard. So let me switch to PPR real quick. Sorry about that. So in PPR, he's actually the wide receiver 19. He has over 15 fantasy points in 5 games out of 7 games played. I know he had a stinker last week, but I think the Raiders, after clearing house, I think they're more of a fun team now. The players seem to be saying that they're having more fun. I know we're getting a backup quarterback playing, but he seems to be pretty focal point of this offense, even with Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs there. He's kind of taken over the role that Hunter Renfrow had 2 years ago. And Renfrow had over 1,000 receiving yards and like 6 or 7 touchdowns. So I think Myers is becoming a flex play you can mostly trust on a week in and week out basis. And as for Rashee Rice, Nick's making good points about him, but that Chiefs offense to me, it's almost like you're spinning a wheel that's not Travis Kelce and every receiver's on the wheel. It's like, what receiver is going to score today? And it could be Rashee Rice or it can't. So I guess my short point is that if you think you have the chance at a boomer bust player in your flex, play with Rashee Rice. But if you want the safer play, I would personally go with Jacoby Myers. So thank you for the question. We appreciate that. Going next to Domo. What's up, guys? Was offered Deebo Samuel and Pacheco for Waddle and Gus Edwards. Thoughts? The thing is, I think this is a pretty fair trade, but I don't want Deebo Samuel, and I'm a Deebo Samuel owner. Nick, you're muted, bud.
Whoops. The injury does concern me for Deebo, but I would still probably rather have him and Pacheco. Pacheco, I believe, is the RB10 on the year right now.
He's getting a lot of touchdowns, I feel like. Maybe it's just like my recency bias, but I feel like he gets the ball in the end zone or in the red zone a good chunk at least.
Probably, but consistent.
And you are right. He is the running back 10 right now in PPR, so you are correct on that.
consistent running back play this year has been like really bad. So I think I'd rather solidify an RB. And for me, Waddle and Samuel are pretty much going to be the same production, except Debo maybe not as sure. Is more likely to be the wide receiver one on any given week for his team than Jalen Waddle. I mean, Tyreek Hill's going to rack up 2,000 yards from that offense this year, and has been the number one guy that they're looking for in the red zone. So Waddle, as talented as he is, he need to be a wide receiver one on probably 20 football teams today. The production is just not going to be there. And I think that Waddle, you could probably sell a little bit more at a high right now, just because that Dolphins offense has been so explosive, and it's very easy to sell and get somebody enticed on that. But Debo Samuel, when he comes back, the 49ers are going to bounce right back to being a top 5 team in the NFL. They're 0-3 without him. They're 5-0 with him. So he clearly is the difference maker on that roster.
I would need to see your roster because Jalen Waddle right now is the wide receiver 24, and Debo Samuel is the wide receiver 48, dealing with an injury and seems to be like the third or fourth option on his team. I think Waddle's still the second option on his team. So, Dome, I'm going to scoot to your next question here. He goes, and by another manager, Kelsey for Kittle and Gus, which one is a better deal? I currently have Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, and Monty. So to me, you don't even need a running back. So if this is your same team, I wouldn't trade Waddle and Gus Edwards. You're fine on running backs. Monty should come back. I think Breece Hall is going to have an awesome rest of the season, and Kamara seems to be back into form. We have Waddle, Cup, and D-Hop. If you could get Kelsey for Kittle and Gus, whoever is giving up Kelsey should be banned for fantasy football. I'm just throwing that out there. But you cannot give up Travis Kelsey for George Kittle, who is just a name. If you take away the name from George Kittle right now, he's no better than like some of these other streaming tight ends. Like, he's really not. I mean, to find where he is on the season, I got to just take a look at this.
He's the
okay. He does the tight end 5 on the season, but
if you look at the breakdown,
he's been carried by like 2 games. Like he's played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's played 8 games, and out of those 8 games, he has 4 of them under 7 points. So my point being, if you can get Kelsey for Gus Edwards and Kittle, that is a league-winning trade, and I mean that.
I agree.
Okay, moving on. Mike Duke, I see your questions here. We're going to get to yours now. Mike Duke, play 2, full PPR, Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice, Josh Downs. Nick, I'll let you go first. I've been talking a lot, but you already did speak about Rashee Rice. If you want to give him a little snippet of that, just in case he missed it.
Pretty much he's been the wide receiver 1 for Kansas City, outside of obviously Travis Kelsey. His snap count is expected to go up. Sky Moore's is expected to go down this week, as they are in one of the highest over-unders this week. So Rashee Rice for me is like a must start at this point. Even if it's not as consistent as you want it. For a flex play, I think Rashee Rice is a very good play. And Puka, there's no reason to stop playing him. I know he had 2 rough weeks in the last 3, but overall, I mean, the dude's been a monster. Even since Cooper Kupp's come back, he's got 2 games over 20 points. So I don't think you can bench him rest of the season, unless if he puts up like 4 stinkers in a row.
I think I'm with Nick on Puka Nacua. I like Josh Downs, but he'll be playing with, Gardner Minshew, and obviously he's also dealing with an injury, and he hasn't technically been – he's not technically active yet. Now, as for the Rams, Matthew Stafford's not playing. At least he's not supposed to play. I'm trying to find the quarterback who they're planning on starting. I can't find his name right now. I'm looking on ESPN and I can't find his name, but they're not planning on starting Stafford, so that does kind of worry me. But they're going into the Packers, who haven't been good this year. So I'd still play Puka Nacua. All right. Let's see. Where's our next question? Our next question, I want to go right back to Mike. Zach Moss, Brian Robinson, or Tank Dell in PPR. You can only play one of these. I always kind of go with the wide receiver. Zach Moss has been pretty productive this season, even with Jonathan Taylor, which is infuriating as a Taylor owner in like 2 leagues. I don't remember at this point. Brian Robinson has been really productive, it feels like, and Tank Dell also as well. So where do you think you're going here, Nick? I'm kind of between Brian Robinson and Tank Dell.
I agree with you. I think both of them have rough matchups this week. I wouldn't want a running back going to New England most often than not. And the Buccaneers defense has been pretty solid overall this year. But I'd probably agree with you. I'd probably just lean receiver,
Yep.
just because there's always more upside, and I don't expect Sam Howell to have the same success that he's had this year, and I think he's looked a lot better than people expected against Bill Belichick.
So you're going with Tank Dell?
Yeah, I'd lean Tank.
I will also go with Tank Dell, but if you really like Robinson, play Robinson. We're going to keep answering these questions, guys. I have a bunch in the comments. Please be patient, and we will get to your question. From Joe Jacoby, start 2. Alexander Madison, yuck. I have him in 2 leagues. Keontae Ingram or Trey McBride. I think I'd still play Madison, even though maybe I was leaning on the name too much. But the Falcons defense, and the Falcons defense is better at home, but I feel like the Vikings have to kind of lean on the run. Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles and will not be playing, so I think they have to kind of lean on the run.
I agree with that. I think I'd go Madison and Ingram. As good as Trey McBride looked last week, I will never justify flexing a tight end.
I'm with you on that. I think I'd rather play the running back.
Madison and Ingram, you should see 30 carries between the two of them.
And there's also really no other running back there in Arizona. Amari DeMarcado is questionable with a toe injury, and I don't think he's going to play. I could be wrong on that. I'm not a doctor, but I don't think he's going to play.
So the two of them should get a ton of carries on the ground. Both have new quarterbacks coming into their system this week. You could probably expect a little bit of checking down to the running back position, especially a little bit more from Ingram. Ingram's a guy that I see on the waiver wire that I keep trying to pick up because running back has been awful this year outside of the top 10. So he's a guy that I've been trying to stash, especially when Kyler comes back next week. And Madison's still getting the workload. I know it hasn't been efficient, but he's still getting 15 carries a game. So
he's not getting touchdowns, which is the issue. That's his biggest issue.
Yeah, and it'll still be an issue this week. But in a game that'll be purely clock management, Madison's going to get your 12 to 15, and you just pray he gets a couple. You pray he's touchdown or bust, like half the running backs in this league.
All right, from Yager, Tua or Dak? So Tua against the Chiefs or Dak against the Eagles. I personally like Tua more. The Chiefs defense has been pretty stout, but to me, this is almost like a prove-it game for the Dolphins. If the Dolphins get blown out of this game, then all the hype around the Dolphins is gone. They're a good team. They'll maybe win a playoff game, but that's really it. If you can't compete with the top of the league, you got blown out by the Bills. You can't get blown out by the Chiefs. So I'm playing the football perspective here. I think the Dolphins have to compete in this game. Maybe they don't win, but they have to lose by less than 10 points if they lose. And that means Tua's going to have to play pretty well. And Tua's been good on the season. I said it a couple of weeks ago on one of our weekly shows, but Tua's quarterback 5 right now. If you drafted Tua Tagovailoa in round 10, you're probably the number 1 team in your league if you drafted well in the early rounds because you got your quarterback in round 10 and he's top 5 and all these other, I'll just use an example here. I'm going to try to find a quarterback that maybe was drafted high. No, well, where's Joe Burrow? Not seeing Joe Burrow here. I'm going to go down the list and see where I could find Joe Burrow. Burrow is quarterback 23, and he's been better the last few weeks. But like, if you drafted Tua over like Joe Burrow, like or Justin Fields, like you won. Like that's great. So anyway, I digress. Dak has a tough matchup against the Eagles. Eagles D is still pretty solid. It's going to be a close game no matter what. It's in Philly. I would go with Tua.
I would go with Tua as well. I don't like playing the division matchups. They're always so wonky. Even though Dak historically has been pretty good against the Eagles. But Tua is playing in the highest over-under game of the week. It's at a 51. In a week where a lot of games are expected to be low scoring. I do expect Tyreek Hill to be able to show that touchdown dance at some point, so you could expect maybe a bigger touchdown there. And the Dolphins have just been so explosive. I don't think Tua has given any reason to bench him this year. His worst game was 12 points, and he had 13 in week 2. Everything else has been above like the league average at quarterback position. And as Nick said, QB5 on the year right now. Only 4 guys better than him, all of them drafted in the first 3 rounds of your draft. So I have no reason to bench Tua at this point.
Yep. So we agree on that. And I am a Seahawks fan. I am wearing my Seahawks gear. It's going to be a rough one today. From Cam Daddy, half PPR, start 3 wide receivers: DK Metcalf, Jacoby Myers, Rashee Rice, Michael Pittman, Hollywood Brown, Amari Cooper. I like this one because it's a tough question. I'll let you take the lead on it.
I'm gonna take a look through some things real quick because
I'll take the lead on it then.
Yeah, go ahead.
DK's a tough player, man. He's dealing with a couple injuries. Seahawks offense has honestly ran through Kenneth Walker the entirety of the season, but DK's still getting the bulk of the targets through Geno Smith. And if the Seahawks are going to compete in this game against a very, very good Ravens team, they're going to have to throw the ball. I think DK is going to have to find the end zone. He hasn't produced as much as we hoped he would this year, but I think you still got to play him. I think he's just too talented. I got to look at Michael. I don't want to play Hollywood Brown, the new quarterback. Don't want to play Hollywood Brown. The Browns are against.
Browns play the Cardinals.
And Cooper's Cooper. You can make good games and bad games. Like I know that's like a very just like black and white like version of it. I'll talk about Pittman first. So Pittman, last 3 games, 10, 14, 10, and on that standard. Let me switch to PPR. So Pittman in his last 3 games, I'm going to find it real quick, is 19, 16, and 18. So the Colts are going against I was going to play their defense, so I know they're having an easier team. Panthers. I think I kind of want to play Pittman here. He's not a flashy, sexy name, but I think I kind of want to go DK, Pittman. And then if you want to go boom bust, go Rashee Rice. If you want to go a safe play, I would go with Jacoby Myers.
I would go Pittman, Amari Cooper, and then I'm in between DK and Rice. I would just play DK. I'd play the better player. I mean, I like Rashee Rice's matchup this week, but I mean, if you drafted DK, like, and I hate saying it because the winners of fantasy football are the people that can adapt, but like Rashee, as much as I do like the play this week, has been inconsistent. DK Metcalf is one of the 10 best receivers in the league. Like, you do not bench a player like that outside of a freak injury or something like that. If they are out there, you just got to play them.
You know who called? Well, thanks for joining the show again. Remember you from the last few years. Thanks for that. Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison. I love my Seahawks defense, but they do give up their points. As much as people love the corners, they do give up their points. I'd rather play Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers has been an exceptional rookie. I mean, can I go as far to say he's been the best rookie wide receiver? Is that? I don't know if that's at least in fantasy football. I don't think that's like a hot take here. Yeah, Addison's been great as well, but now he's playing with a rookie quarterback his first game. I'm worried about that. I don't want to play any Viking really today. If I could avoid it, I'll play Zay Flowers. I think it'll be I hope it's a close game, so I think Zay's gonna have to get some work.
I agree with that. I think workload should be there. I think Addison will be better once Josh Dobbs gets into the system next week. But they really have so little confidence in their quarterback that this, like, Kirk Cousins went down on, I believe it was Sunday, and it was Monday Night Football. It was one of the two, and they made the trade like immediately the next morning. They were on the phone for Jameis Winston. That just showed how like unconfident they were with the quarterback that they're rolling out this week. Yep. So for that reason alone, and in a game that should be the lowest scoring on the week, I do not want a piece of Addison this week.
I see the thanks in the comments. You're more than welcome, guys. We're happy to help. Every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time is our live show on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And as for our shows that air during the week, you can find them on all audio streaming platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and you can also find the video and audio versions on our YouTube channel. Next question, you know who Caldwell asks, would you trade Keenan Allen for CeeDee Lamb? I don't think so right now. I think Keenan Allen's been the better receiver this season from a fantasy perspective. He's the wide receiver 6, CeeDee Lamb's wide receiver 10, so it's pretty even. It's kind of whatever player you trust the rest of the season. I would like to keep Keenan Allen because I think that the Chargers will be down in more games. I think they're still going to throw a lot in more games. I think the Cowboys have an awesome defense, so their defense can almost, I don't want to say carry that team, but I think the Chargers will play in a lot more shootouts than the Cowboys will.
I agree with that. I think you'll see more inconsistency from CeeDee Lamb as the Cowboys offense they're going to blow teams out and they're not going to have a need for CeeDee Lamb. They will run the clock out, like Mike McCarthy said. I mean, if Kellen Moore was my offensive coordinator, I'd want CeeDee Lamb more. But guess what? Kellen Moore is Keenan Allen's offensive coordinator at the moment. So I will probably lean a little bit more on Keenan. I think this week's going to be rough. He goes up against the Jets, who have been the best team against wide receivers this year. But outside of that, like it's an even trade. But if Keenan Allen was your guy going into the season, don't trade him for what would be an even trade.
We got a good one. This is also why I love doing these shows. Jake Ferguson, who I'm playing in a league, George Kittle's on bye, or Taysom Hill in PPR.
I'm biting the bullet, and I am playing Taysom Hill in leagues. The last 2 weeks, he's been really, really good. They're using him like a running back and a wide receiver. He's getting far too many carries and touches for you not to put him in his lineup. For the last 3 weeks in full PPR, 12, 17, and 22. He is the tight end 11 on the season right now. If you pace those last 3 weeks, and I don't think he's going to be as productive for the rest of the year, he would finish probably as the tight end 2 on the year. So for me, there's no reason not to play him. He's shown enough consistency over a 3-week stretch. It wasn't a one-off with a 20-point game, which he tends to do. So I'm more than willing at this point to lock him into my lineup.
Yeah, I think you have to kind of ride the hot hand, although I do like Ferguson. He had 14 fantasy points in his last game before the bye, and now I think hopefully that continues, and we see him filling in that Dalton Schultz role 2 years ago. So Scott Green, thanks for joining the show, Scott. We've seen you on the show before. Full PPR, need 3. Jalen Waddle, KJ Osborne, Jalen Reed, Van Jefferson, or Quentin Johnston. You're definitely playing Waddle, so I think we could get that one out of the way, and then me and Nick will decide between the next 2. I have him in my Dynasty League, and I kind of want to take a shot here on Quentin Johnston. Joshua Palmer's out. No Mike Williams there. I think I want to kind of take a shot on him. I don't want to play Van Jefferson, so I don't really want to play KJ Osborne either. I think I want to play Jalen Reed, Quentin Johnston, and Jalen Waddle.
I totally disagree on Quentin Johnston. And it's not just the Jets matchup, although that is obviously the biggest factor. He has looked like a bust as of this far of the season for a first-round draft pick at the wide receiver position. He's going up against the Jets, who are the number 1 team against the wide receiver position. Keenan Allen lines up in the slot. Quentin Johnston lines up on the outside. He is only going to see Sauce or DJ Reed, who have been 2 of the top 10 cornerbacks over the last 2 seasons in the NFL. There is absolutely no reason from a talent perspective to play him. It's just the opportunity, and the opportunity, unfortunately, is going up against 2 of the league's best cornerbacks. As far as it goes for the other ones,
my favorite stat sheet stuffer is at quarterback, and he has to stuff the stat sheet somehow.
The Jets are covering the spread and maybe winning the game because of Brandon Staley. We'll see. But I mean, I hate to tell you this, but I don't love any of your other options.
I think we're kind of there. We don't love the options, but I'm trying to pick the upside here. I don't want wide receiver 3 Van Jefferson with a rookie quarterback. I don't want wide receiver 3 KJ Osborne with a rookie quarterback. I like your point about Quentin Johnston, but I don't know who you'd rather play out of these guys. Osborne and Jefferson, you're hoping for a touchdown, and the odds of that is probably pretty slim.
I would go to KJ Osborne because I've seen enough talent from him versus the rest of this list, and the list is pretty rough to have to play 3 of them. But Osborne has shown me the most talent outside of Waddle on this list. And then I'd probably go Raiders Packers. No, Rams Packers this week.
It's Rams Packers. The Rams defense does not look great either.
I mean, if you're banking on the touchdown, Reed is probably the most likely between the other 3. Van Jefferson will be in one of the lowest scoring games. The Chargers game with the Jets, it's not going to be a super low scoring game, but it's not going to be Chargers Chiefs that goes for 55. And the Falcons are going to be in the lowest pace of play team all year. And I think it's
a prove it game for Brandon Staley and the Chargers.
Oh,
the Jets look really good this year. I mean, they almost shut down Mahomes. They kind of shut down Jalen Hurts. I think and Josh Allen got shut down. I think it's a big prove it game for the Chargers. I'm not saying the Chargers offense is better than any of those teams, but I think it's a big prove it game for for those guys.
Yeah.
And we do definitely argue with each other about certain things. We haven't really talked about Justin Herbert just yet. Because Nick's going to agree with me this week on my Justin Herbert and Chargers takes. But yeah, we definitely do argue when we have differing opinions. We have some healthy arguments at times. From Yager again, Taysom Hill or Cole Kmet, but I don't want to put my eggs in one basket, so I'd play Jackson Smith and Jigma over Michael Thomas in flex. Okay, I see what you mean. So I don't want to play two Saints.
I'd be comfortable playing the two Saints against the Bears.
Yeah, I think I would too. I love JSN as a player, and I love the Seahawks offense a lot. The Seahawks offense is an awesome NFL offense, but there are so many mouths to feed on it. It's really, really tough. And Tyler Lockett, sorry, I got to plug my charger in for my computer so it doesn't die. That'd be bad. But Tyler Lockett hasn't had his like Tyler Lockett games, and they're going to come. He's almost like Amari Cooper, so he's going to have a couple 20 bombs over the next 9 weeks. So I think I don't really want to play JSN when Michael Thomas is kind of the second receiving option on that team. So I think I would rather just play Michael Thomas and Taysom Hill. I mean, they are facing the Bears, so they should obliterate the Bears. They're also at home. So yeah, I think I'd just rather play both Saints at that point. I do understand your thought process. I don't like doing that either. But if you really want to do that, I think out of those 4 guys, I want to play Michael Thomas the most. If you don't want to play two Saints, put Cole Kmet in there because somebody has to catch balls for the Bears besides DJ Moore.
And Taysom Hill the last 3 weeks we just spoke about, but 12, 17, and 22. I'm gonna check on Michael Thomas's real quick. But I'm a Michael Thomas owner, and he's been a consistent 10 all season long. In the last 2 weeks, I feel like he's been a little bit better.
Was Cole Kmet injured week 7? Or did he just get a goose egg?
I think he got a goose.
Because Cole Kmet over his last 5, 27, 15, 2, blah, 0, blah, and 17. So I don't hate playing Cole Kmet. If you really don't want to put your eggs in one basket, I'd play Michael Thomas and Cole Kmet.
Michael Thomas, his floor this year has been 9.3. His ceiling has been 13.2. So he's literally one of the most consistent, just lock in 10 to your lineup guys. And I think he's only found the end zone once. So in a game against the Bears, it's definitely more likely he finds it this time. So I'm more than comfortable playing the two. They have the upside of combining for 35 between the two of them.
Yep. You know who called well, Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow this week and rest of year. So we could do a fantasy take and an NFL take. Fantasy, I still want Justin Herbert. Even though I'm a Burrow guy, from a fantasy standpoint, I love Justin Herbert in drafts. I still love Justin Herbert. He is my favorite stat sheet stuffer. He's very good at putting up 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and maybe a pick. Currently sitting as the quarterback 7 on the year, averaging 21 points a game. He's gonna get bumped up because Kirk Cousins is going to fall out because he's hurt. And the Chargers have to compete in every single game. The defense is not going to carry that team. The offense will, so it's going to run through guys like Eckler and Herbert. So I think the Bengals are going to play gritty, kind of lower scoring games than the Chargers. And the Chargers are it's a rush to kind of 35 points in every single game.
Yeah, I also think that the Chargers have a much easier schedule going forward than the Bengals.
They probably do, yeah.
The Chargers are going to get to see the Broncos. I believe they haven't played at all yet this year, twice, which is a very good secondary for them. And Joe Burrow is going to have to see the rest of that division. He struggled in the beginning half, and I know he was injured going into the year, so that's a little bit of concern. And I know I tend to lean on Herbert more than I do on Burrow, but Nick spoke about it. Justin Herbert is the QB7 on the year right now. On a per game basis, he's the only one that has been on bye compared to everyone above him. He's the QB3 in points per game right now. So if I were you, I'd go trade Joe Burrow, and because I think you can, whichever one you're more confident in, I think you can easily trade the other one for a very good asset to your team and just trust to lock the other guy in for the rest of the year.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you just ask this as a blanket question or if you have both. But if you don't have both, I actually kind of traded for Joe Burrow. They have the Bills tonight. You're not going to trade for him right now. But then they have Texans, that's a good matchup. Ravens will be a tough one. Steelers could be tough. Then they have the Jags. I mean, your last 5 here: Jags, Colts, and Vikings for your playoff. Your playoff push should be Jags and Colts. Then your playoffs would be Vikings, good matchup. Steelers, tough, but the Bengals will have to win that one. And Chiefs should be high scoring on New Year's Eve. And the Bengals look good. I mean, Joe Burrow looks healthy. They came off that bye and they dropped 31 on the Niners. And the Niners were pretty much healthy. I mean, I know they had a couple injuries, but the defense was healthy. So that's pretty impressive. So yeah, I don't mind trading for Joe Burrow. If the Burrow owner is frustrated, I wouldn't give up a lot for him. From Scott Green, one more, need 2 flex, full PPR. What is Ingram's first name? I don't want to. Keontae Ingram, Justice Hill, Joshua Kelly, and Roschon Johnson. Joshua Kelly and Justice Hill are so annoying. I think you're going to lock in Ingram. He seems to be, because we don't know, should be the running back 1 on that team for this week. And Roschon Johnson might get the bulk of the carries over there as well. Those are the 2 I would personally play. I'm a Justice Hill owner. I'm going to have to play him in a couple leagues with like Montgomery injured or Taylor injured. I hate playing Justice Hill every week because he doesn't get the goal line work. He's kind of like a 10-point guy, and that's okay. And Joshua Kelly, I guess he gets some goal line work, but Austin Eckler's Austin Eckler. So I would personally think the upside of Roschon Johnson and Keontae Ingram is better upside for me.
I totally agree with you.
Cool.
Yep. Perfect.
Cool. Okay. Next up, you know who Caldwell? I traded for Joey B when Herbert had his finger injury. When did Herbert have a finger injury? I have both. I'd love to trade. Burrow picked up Kyler too. Who's a target? Anybody like in a flex spot. Like, I can't give you a target because it's just such a blanketed question, I guess. But I would just say,
what's your biggest team need? If you need a tight end, I think you can easily make a package with Joe Burrow. And if you have an average tight end in the league, go get a TJ Hawkinson and Mark Andrews. I think if you need a wide receiver, you're probably looking in the, I would say, DK Metcalf range. I mean, I'm trying to think who was drafted around there, but I mean, that's really who you're going to be targeting here. Maybe you go for Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans can slot into most lineups most weeks. I mean, those are 2 names that come to mind. If you need a running back, and I know running backs been rough this year,
I would trade for James Conner. He's going to be off the IR in a week or 2. Go attack guys like James Conner, Devon A-Chain.
I think you get more value than that. Go for Kyron Williams instead, who's been the RB4 up until the injury.
Okay, I don't hate that one either. That's another one I would go through. I'm just naming like my roster in a league that's all injured. I think Montgomery might be a solid trade too. Montgomery will be back in a week or 2. I know Jahmyr Gibbs was good, but
I think you could get a Kenneth Walker. Like I think Joe Burrow.
I don't think you get a Kenneth Walker.
I don't know.
If you can, it's a slam dunk. But Walker's the running back 5 on the season, like top 5. And 4 is Zach Moss.
I don't know. I think you could get more value than that out of him. I think.
But what do you think he's worth? Just because of his name?
There's been so many QB injuries this year. I mean, there's probably 8 guys that you're comfortable locking into your lineup each week. The teams that have to keep flexing, I'm sure that they'd rather have a Joe Burrow, and you can get a RB2 wide receiver too, rather than a flex play. I think he holds more value than that with his name alone.
Okay. This sounds crazy, but I wonder if you could pull Justin Jefferson out of your hat. He's still on the IR. He's still on the IR. Quarterback situation. Jefferson owner might be disgruntled. If you could get like Joe Burrow and maybe like a receiver, I would do it.
I just traded for Jefferson in a league and with someone that knows their stuff. And I mean, you can. There's a lot of concern around the Justin Jefferson owners. Most of them are not in the playoff hunt anymore, or like looking to fight back into it. So you can make a package deal, and he's not coming back this week, but he's meeting with doctors next week to see if he's eligible or if he's cleared for the following week. So there's definitely an upside of him getting back.
By Brown, I'm assuming you mean AJ Brown here. I'm just gonna tell me if I'm wrong. So you probably need a running back. So go with any of those running backs that me and Nick had just mentioned. DeAndre Swift is another one. I think you could. I know Nick thinks you could get higher value. I'm not sure. I think DeAndre Swift's another one you could target. Who's a top 6 running back on the season right now?
What about Isaiah Pacheco or a package deal? And I mean, this would be reaching, but maybe Bijan Robinson.
Like, yeah, you might be able to. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think what I would do is I would say to your league, hey, who needs a quarterback? Joe Burrow's up for grabs, and see who, and then whoever contacts you, then you go from there.
Yep.
From Dylan Fink, thanks for joining. I think we've seen you before in the show. Start one running back, full PPR. It's ugly. All right, that happens. Keontae Ingram, Zach Charbonnet, Jerick McKinnon, Jeff Wilson, Latavius Murray, Kenneth Gainwell, Antonio Gibson, Joshua Kelly, Delvin Cook, etc. My easy one is Keontae Ingram. We've been talking about him the entire show. Should be the running back one for the Cardinals today. I think that's the guy you go with.
I agree with you.
Rest of your season, yeah, these guys are kind of dead in the water. But yeah, for this week, go with Keontae Ingram.
Yep.
From Za, thanks for joining, my friend. We've seen you on the show for a couple of years. We appreciate you joining us again for another live edition. Would y'all rather have Kenneth Walker, DeAndre Swift, or Jonathan Taylor? I have Walker. I don't like his schedule. I have Mixon and Hall. Yeah, I mean, I don't like his schedule either, and I'm a Seahawks fan, but I've had some takes right on the show, preseason takes, and I've had some takes wrong. One take I was wrong about, and I'll put my hand up, is that I was kind of anti-Kenneth Walker. I thought he's being drafted too high. I thought Zach Charbonnet is going to take a lot of the goal line and passing work, and he's the running back 5 on the season, and they use him so much in the red zone. They want him to score as many touchdowns as possible, it feels like. So they have the Commanders next week, who just sold all their D-line. Then they have the Rams, who they do play them tough, but I think the Seahawks are due for a win. And here's your really tough stretch. 49ers, Cowboys, 49ers, Eagles, and Titans. And then the Steelers. So, yeah, I mean, if you can trade him, but you need to get something back in return. And DeAndre Swift or Taylor, to me, isn't enough right now.
Really? I would think so. I think if you could get either or, I would take that trade for Kenneth Walker.
Straight up?
Straight up. I mean, Kenneth Walker is the RB7 in full PPR.
7. Swift is the 5.
Zach Moss is the RB4, and he's taking over that. Jonathan Taylor is going to eventually fully take over that role. I think I would be more than
Swift is the 5, but he hasn't had his bye yet. Kenneth Walker had his bye.
Walker's averaging 16, Swift's averaging 15, but with the strength of schedule, Moss averaged 17.9.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't hate it, but Jonathan Taylor, as a Taylor owner, I haven't seen what I need to see from him to trade for him. And the Colts team is the Colts. So I think I'd rather have DeAndre Swift if that's who you're going for. I wonder if you could pull a Travis Etienne.
I don't know. Etienne's been on fire. I mean, he's
got
4 straight games over 22.
I feel like I feel like you could push for that, or if you need depth. I mean, who does he have? He has Mixon and Hall. I mean, yeah, I guess you don't really need depth, but maybe you could. I mean, and I don't know what receivers you have, but let's say you need some depth. Maybe you could trade like for a Bijan Robinson and maybe and a receiver too. It all depends on what you kind of need.
That's not a bad idea. I like that.
All right. From CC Sharks, Deshaun Watson or Gardner Minshew. Yeah, I mean, I thought about playing Watson this week, and then I pulled them from my lineup for CJ Stroud. Go with Gardner Minshew. The Panthers' defense has been terrible. Like, they're not a good football team. I want to see Minshew's numbers, but I know he's been okay. He's probably one of the better backups in the league. I mean,
the last 3 weeks.
His last 3 is 12, 28, and 15. Yeah, I would play Minshew over Watson. Take the name out of it.
I agree. I think that's where I would lean.
Caldwell goes, I totally forgot I have Achane on that team as well. That's the team with Najee Harris, Breece Hall. So yeah, that's pretty solid. Okay. No more questions in the chat right now. So keep asking those questions. We'll be live for another 10, 12 minutes. We're going to run through some injuries here, go through each game, and maybe add any little fluff we like into it. Dolphins at the Chiefs. Everybody's pretty much healthy that you care about, at least. Nick really likes Rashee Rice. I think it'll be high scoring, and I think you just play everybody. You play Kelsey, you play Tua, you play Mahomes, you play Waddle, you play Mostert. I think you just play everybody.
Play them. The overseas games tend to be super high scoring.
I wonder what the overs are in those overseas games, though. That's tricky.
Yeah.
Vikings at Falcons. Kirk Cousins is done with his Achilles injury. Who is starting for the Vikings? I need to figure this out. Vikings starter. I can't even tell you his name.
I forget his name, but rookie. I think he was a rookie late round draft pick quarterback.
Let's see. Jaron Hall is the starter. So Jaron Hall. See if I can find something on him. I think it's CBS. Let's see. Career maybe. Game log, no. Fantasy. Can I find anything on Jaron Hall? Can I tell you anything? Hall is expected as the Vikings starter. He got picked in the 5th round. Yeah, so there you go. I don't love that. And now the Falcons are also starting Taylor Heineke. So yeah, and Drake London's out. So maybe it's free Kyle Pitts week. Yeah, we'll see where that goes. But I mean, in this game, I guess you play your Kyle Pitts and you play your Bijan Robinson. I want to avoid Vikings at all costs if I can.
Yeah, I understand that and I agree with you.
This might be the lowest scoring game on the week.
It's definitely possible. I think so.
I'm kind of surprised they're benching Ritter because Ritter's awesome at home. But anyway, from Zog, he says, I have Justin Jefferson, Monroe St. Brown, Chris Olave, Nico, Shaheed, and Josh Downs on 4-4 and sitting at 4th place in a 10-team half PPR. I think that's the Kenneth Walker league. So what if you could package JJ and Walker for like a stud and like a flex play? I wonder if you could do that. I wonder if there's like a disgruntled like CeeDee Lamb owner or something.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I just had some major issue in my fantasy league, so I'm just trying to resolve it before this 9:30 slate.
Yeah, tell us about that in a second. I wonder if you could get like a CeeDee Lamb or something, or maybe Devontae Adams is sitting at wide receiver 18. If you could trade Justin Jefferson and Kenneth Walker for like DeAndre Swift and Devontae Adams, I'd kind of do that. Anyway, I'm going to let Nick kind of do that. I'll move to the next question from Noah. No. Good morning. Should I flex Ramondre Stevenson, Rashee Rice, or Josh Downs in 0.5 PPR? Pats have, I am playing their defense, so I know they're playing some crappy team. The Pats have, I'm in so many leagues. Patriots have the Commanders. If you want a safe player, go with Stevenson. If you want a boom bust, go with Rashee Rice. I don't want to play Josh Downs. Injury. Yeah, and I think your options are a little bit better.
So real quick, I'll tell you about the issue that I had.
Sure.
So I made a trade in my league 2 days ago, and this is why I say Yahoo Fantasy is the worst fantasy platform. I will argue with anybody over this. Massive trade. I trade away 4 players. I'm receiving 2 players. And as part of the deal, you have to drop players from your roster if you're getting 4 players because like you have to make your roster work.
Yep.
The person that I did the trade with had 1 open bench spot and picked up a waiver guy. So he only had to drop 1 player. Unfortunately, because of that, the trade now this morning at 9:20, right before the slate, canceled and did not go through. So I'm texting the commissioner now because in the deal I'm getting Patrick Mahomes. I need to get him in my lineup before 9:30. So I apologize for the inconvenience, but I'm just trying to get my quarterback in for the game.
Yeah, you got it. I'll keep answering these questions. So from Prod, how do you guys feel about Pollard for Thielen? No, I can't. Running back's too thin. The Cowboys are going to be a playoff team. They're still going to run through Pollard. Thielen's been excellent. He's been a steal, but the running back position is too thin. And Pollard carries both name weight and talent weight. So I can't personally do that. I think you could get a better receiver than Adam Thielen if you're desperate to trade Pollard. I think you could get Devontae Adams. I really do. I think you could get, if you believe in Jefferson, you could trade for Jefferson. I think you could get CeeDee Lamb. I think there's other guys you could attack. So that's my thoughts on that, at least.
As a quick little update, the commissioner told the other guy he's got to drop players and redo the trade to push it through, and he's doing it now. So he's doing it real quick just so that I could slot these guys in my lineup.
Oh, so you're fine?
Yeah, I'm fine, but I still have to wait for him to push it through so I could start Mahomes real quick.
Is he going to push it in for you? You need to actually.
Yeah, he's pushing it in because it went through the 2 days of not getting vetoed, so he's pushing it.
Gotcha.
Through. It's just he picked up a backup quarterback to play this week because he traded away Mahomes and it didn't work out.
Gotcha. All right. I'll let you kind of give your answers for these. So this is he has JJ Amano St. Brown, Olave Nico. This is the one that he was looking to trade Ken Walker and DeAndre Swift for Taylor.
He's looking to trade for Swift or Taylor.
Or
correct?
Taylor, that yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you should do it. Your top 3 receivers are really good if Justin Jefferson gets back out there. I might look to trade Nico Collins. I do think CJ Stroud, as good as he has looked, is getting a little bit more figured out now that there's a little more tape on him. I do think the Texans are going to kind of come a little bit back down to earth. I think they'll be better next year. But they've been really good this year. But I don't think Nico is going to have as much consistency. And if you're going to have to play him as your flex option every week, it's not what I would want to do. So maybe look to pivot there on your lineup. Maybe you package Kenneth Walker with Nico Collins and go get receiver running back duo.
There you go. And here's your next question that you can answer.
Should I flex Stevenson, Rice, or Downs? I personally am not a fan of Downs. I don't want to play him for right now, even though he's been pretty solid. Just not a fan for my team. Between Rice going up against the Dolphins, I've already said numerous times on the show, like I'm a big fan of playing him this week. And then you get the Commanders, who did just send their whole defensive line, or at least the 2 best players on there out. Well, I guess Jonathan Allen's still there, but
yeah,
2 of the top 3 players on that D line out. I would have no problem paying Stevenson this week if you need the consistency. But if you need the upside, I think Rashee Rice is more likely to get the touchdown.
So this guy was going to do Pollard for Thielen, but then then he said it's either Thielen or Amon-Ra. Guys, it's for JT and Pollard for Amon-Ra. Nope. Tell this guy to kick rocks. You're done. You move on to the next.
Running back is so valuable this year. The only way you trade that package is Jamar Chase, and it's if you have 2 other running backs, or Stephon Diggs or Tyreek Hill, period.
Yep, we're not doing this. I asked earlier, Ramondre, Najee, Chubb, and let's see. I asked earlier, Ramondre, Najee, Chuba, and Henderson earlier this week. You all said Ramondre and Najee. I benched Najee. I'm sorry about that. Tried to help, I guess. So who do we got right now? So I guess you have Ramondre and then Chuba Hubbard or Henderson. I would go with Henderson if those are your 2 options.
I agree.
Cool. Okay. Keep asking those questions, guys, for another couple minutes. We'll keep running through these games. Arizona Cardinals at the Cleveland Browns. Amari DeMarcado is questionable, but the toe has not practiced this week, I don't think. So me and Nick both kind of like Keontae Ingram, although the Browns defense very tough. Kyler Murray was removed from the Cardinals injury report Thursday, but is still on the PUP list, will not be playing today. Some other big injuries, James Conner, Jonathan Gannon said on Wednesday that Conner's ready to go and excited to get back, but I don't think he's not playing today. I think he's still on the PUP until next week. Yeah, I mean, my other thoughts on that is like Jerome Ford's a fine play. Cooper's a fine play. Hollywood Brown is okay, I guess. Those are my quick thoughts, quick hitters.
I agree with you on all that.
Okay. Next up is the Rams at the Packers. I need to figure out who's playing for the Rams. I need to get the name. It is Brett Ripien. Yuck.
That is yuck.
So I mean, I'll play Cooper Kupp. I guess I will still play Puka Nacua. Henderson's an okay-ish play. And then on the Packers side, Aaron Jones. Maybe that's it, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
If you have to put like a Packers receiver, Romeo Dobbs, I guess, but like I'm not thrilled about it.
I agree. Dobbs has been fairly consistent for them at least.
From Stanley, he goes Reese or Dotson. I don't know who you mean by Reese. Rashi Rice, maybe. I need you to clarify that for me because I don't know who you're talking about. So come back to us on that.
Yep.
Especially if it's Rice, because you have 5 minutes, like 2 minutes. Like if this is Rice, play Rice. If this is Rice, play Rice. I'm saying that right now. Put him in your lineup. You did say, do I play any KC receiver? Right in the chat right now. If this is Rice, if it's Rice, play Rice. From Z Money, would y'all start Brandon Cooks or Christian Watson? I'll play Christian Watson.
I would go Brandon Cooks. I think that Eagles secondary has been so abysmal. And I think Brandon Cooks, he doesn't have all the upside in the world, but Christian Watson's been a very rough sophomore slump. Like I do not want a piece of that Packers offense, and the Cowboys offense is going to have more upside, more likely for touchdowns, easier. Well, both are good matchups. Brandon Cooks slightly easier matchup. Like that's totally where I would lean this week.
Yep. Next game up we have here the Commanders versus the Patriots. I love the Patriots defense in this game. I am starting them. There's no other injuries in this game. This is a game. This is definitely a game.
Yeah. Sorry, it's 9:29 and I'm still texting the commissioner, so I'm like half in, half out at the moment. It's very bad radio, but
now it's on the commissioner. Just slot him in your lineup if you don't get him in. He's got to fix that. A guy I've seen some buzz for the Patriots is Demario Douglas. Rice. Put Rice in, Stanley. You don't have time. Rice. Put him in. Rice or Moss, put him in. Rice.
Yep.
You have like 1 minute. Put him in. Put him in all your lineups if you have to. Demario Douglas is getting a bit of love over the past week or two. Past 2 weeks, first game, 4 receptions on 6 targets, 54 yards. Last week, 5 receptions on 7 targets. So he's getting the work, and the Patriots just lost Kendrick Bourne, who was technically the wide receiver 1 over there. So if you need a flex play in that Patriots game, it's not a bad one. As for the Commanders, to me, it's just kind of Terry McLaurin or bust. I mean, Dotson's not performed well. And Brian Robinson's been fine this season. So if you have to play running back 2, you can, but I don't like him against the Patriots defense.
I agree with you there. I think the Patriots defense is like, they're not the hardest matchup in the world, but as a defense, they always figure it out.
Nick, Sally's asking if DeBerkenshaw Ferguson's going to make your roster.
Unfortunately, you can't start offensive linemen in my leagues this year, but
maybe that'll be the PrimeTime Fantasy League. You're going to make it that you could draft offensive linemen.
I'm in. I'm down. Most pancakes allowed. Yeah.
Chicago Bears at the New Orleans Saints. Justin Fields is still not playing. I mean, to me, you could play your Saints. Like Olave's still fine. We talked about Taysom Hill a good chunk. Kamara's locked in. Michael Thomas a good start. As for the Bears, DJ Moore is locking in every week. I think Cole Kmet's a fine tight end play if you need it. I think you can probably squeak out Roshan Johnson if you need to in a league like I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's one of the, not one of the worst, but it's like there's a massive, I think it's a 9.5 point spread in this game. The Saints side of the ball, they've looked like they're starting to get better. The Bears have been very rough this year. I don't love the Bears matchups with their quarterback against the Saints defense, who doesn't really have a weakness. They're very average to above average in every area on their team. You don't have a lot of playmakers outside of DJ Moore on that team. So outside of DJ Moore, I really don't like playing anybody else. But I do think if you need the running back rub here, Roshan Johnson could be the move.
All right. My Seahawks at the Ravens. I am scared about this game from a Seahawks perspective, but from a fantasy perspective, Lockett and DK are a little bit banged up, but they should be fine. No other injuries. I mean, Lamar's a lock and load. Mark Andrews, a lock and load. I think Zay Flowers is a good play. The Seahawks side, obviously your 2 receivers, Kenneth Walker, Geno if you have to, but I am scared to play Geno going forward.
I agree with you.
You know who called well, Devontae Smith or DJ Moore? I'll play DJ Moore because I know he's the one on that team. But Devontae Smith,
I'd go Devontae Smith. Last year against the Cowboys, when Jalen Hurts did play, he scored 30 points.
Oh, he's a Cowboy killer. Nice.
Yep.
We love that. Bucks at the Texans. Dameon Pierce is expected to be out with an ankle injury, so you could slot in Devin Singletary if needed. That's the only kind of injury that we have here. You're just playing your guys in this game. Mike Evans is a play. Chris Godwin is a play. Don't really love the Bucks running back situation. I haven't for a while. For the Texans, I am starting Stroud in a league because I have Fields, and I think Tank Dell's a good enough flex play if you need it.
I agree. I'm flexing Tank Dell in a league. I don't love it, but he looks to be very talented. And I think CJ Stroud, even though I did just say like it's not coming out on him, but there's enough tape where you can prepare for him now. I do think he has been clearly the best rookie quarterback. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that have had very rough years that had high expectations, and I do think he's somewhere in that league average quarterback at the moment, and that's good enough for me to want to start the wide receiver too in a flex spot.
From Joe, Cole Kmet and Trey McBride both this week and rest of season. I think I like Cole Kmet both today and rest of season.
I would go the other way. I think Trey McBride. I think he's a much more athletic tight end. There was very good reports coming out of camp from him early in the year. He's someone I wanted on waivers when Zach Ertz went down.
But do you trust him just yet? I mean, he's only had over 6 fantasy points in one game out of 8.
Well, he just got the rub with Zach Ertz going down for the year, and Kyler Murray is going to come back next week. I'd rather have
that might change his entire team. That's tough.
Zach Ertz with Kyler Murray 2 years ago, I want to say, or last year.
He was a solid option. You're right.
Locked in 12 points per game, and that's hard at the tight end position.
He was. From Ball Glove Blueprint, in a PPR league, I've got Mostert, Ramondre Stevenson, Breece Hall, Alexander Madison, Brian Robinson, Kyron Williams, Devon A. Chain. Need a backup quarterback. Do I drop Madison for Kyler Murray for Week 10 against the Falcons? I would drop
Madison.
I mean, this is a 10-man. Is this a 10-man league? 8-man league? I would like to see who your receivers are, because if you have to drop Madison,
you can't drop anybody else on that list. Madison's the only one you can drop if you need to.
Why do you need a backup quarterback right now? Is your quarterback on bye? Can you give more clarity to the situation? Because I'm not like
Madison will never start in this person's lineup.
I agree.
It'll be Breece Hall and Mostert for now. The number 3 is Brian Robinson with the injuries. And when Achan and Kyron Williams come back, it's Breece Hall, Williams, Achan. Those are your top 3. I think you could easily move the other ones. Like you are in the perfect situation.
Who are your receivers? Because I'd rather you draft a receiver or trade for a quarterback. You have so much talent here. Go trade for Joe Burrow if you can. Go trade for Herbert. Like somebody's going to offer one of these top quarterbacks. Go trade for one of them if you can.
Exactly.
Especially if Herbert has a bad game against the Jets on Monday, go spring on that one.
Yep.
If you have any more questions, Ball Glove, you could drop them, but we'll keep running through the games. Nick, this 4:00 slate is easily the worst 4:00 slate of the season. Thing is, I think the NFL did this on purpose. Good on them for scheduling. People will tune out of the red zone just to watch Cowboys Eagles.
Yeah,
it's a Sunday night game, but it's not a Sunday night game. So, Colts at Panthers, Giants, Raiders, and Eagles, Cowboys. Yucky, yucky, yuck. So Colts at Panthers. I think Minshew's a fine start if you need it. I think Michael Pittman's a good enough start. I think Taylor's a good start. Other side of the ball, Thielen's been great, and he's the only Panther that I want to play.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there.
His receivers are Brandon Ayuk, Nakua, Flowers, and Ridley. So, yeah, I would have to drop Madison. But before you drop Madison, don't do it right now. Just go try to make a trade. I think you could pull a quarterback off out of trading.
If I were this, and I don't know, obviously, what your other team's rosters are, I think you can, not easily, but you can craft a trade where you put together Ramondre Stevenson, Brian Robinson, and go get and package them with one of your receivers and go get an elite quarterback and elite receiver. You have the depth at both positions. You don't have a receiver that rests the season you're going to trust every week to go put up 20. I'd go make some package deal and go land a stud receiver and a quarterback.
Yeah. Devontae Adams, I love it. Go trade for Devontae Adams. Giants at the Raiders. Nick doesn't like Devontae Adams. But he's
Future Jet.
Giants at the Raiders. I'm not sure who I want to play from this game. Definitely not any Giant. I guess from the Raiders. Yeah, I forgot he existed.
Yeah, I don't want any receiver or quarterback.
Literally, I forgot he existed. I mean, if I go to the running back rankings right now, where is Saquon Barkley in PPR? Just for
I feel like he hasn't had a bad year.
Well, he's missed 3 games. The issue is he's missed 3 games. His average is actually pretty solid. It's at 17.
Yeah.
Okay. So you do play Saquon Barkley. Aside from that, though, I mean, the Raiders, I like playing Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, and Josh Jacobs. And that's who I'm playing from this game.
I agree.
Daniel Jones playing? I don't think so. Tyrod Taylor is also out. And so is Darren Waller. So from Dallas Cowboys at the Eagles, no really big injuries in this one. I just play your guys. Like, you know who to play in this game. I don't think I need to tell you. You play your guys in this game.
Yep.
Sunday Night Football, Bills at Bengals. Another one. You just play your guys. Nobody's hurt. You play your guys in this game. I think it'll be high scoring. Yeah.
I think the one question mark. I mean, there's question marks around T. Higgins and Gabe Davis. I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I play Gabe Davis. I think T. Higgins one of these weeks is going to have one of those like burst out weeks, and it could be on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, he's playing for a contract. He's gotta start showing out.
Yep, and they're healthy now. Okay, last game is Monday night. Chargers at the Jets. Joshua Palmer is questionable. I think he got ruled out already though, but I'm seeing he was questionable here.
Yeah.
If Herbert's your quarterback, you probably got to start him unless you have a serviceable backup that you trust. But if you do have a backup, like I know somebody said that Burrow and Herbert, I would bench Herbert. Keenan Allen, I feel like you have to play. Eckler, you have to play. Breece Hall, you have to play. Everybody else is kind of on a per name, per play basis. But nobody I want to play.
Agreed.
Do we think Tyreek goes 12 for 250? Are you playing Tyreek in a league this week?
Am I playing against Tyreek this week? That's a great question.
If Nick is playing against Tyreek, then yes. If he's not, then no.
I do have him in a league though. Going. No. Let's see. Nope.
Oh, well, then.
Yep. No. Good. I got confused. Someone had T Hill and it was actually Taysom Hill.
Gotcha. All right. So if you guys have any other questions, drop them while we're wrapping up. If you enjoyed the show, thank you so much. Tell your friends and join us every single Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time to answer your fantasy football questions. Next week we'll again be live at 8:30 before the next Germany game, or I don't remember who's playing, but that's okay. We'll be live for it. And then, if you enjoyed it, you can listen to our weekly shows as well on all audio streaming platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. Make sure to subscribe as well. If you'd rather watch and listen to the show in video form like you're doing today, go to our YouTube channel, Primetime Fantasy Podcast. You hit the subscribe button to the channel, hit the little bell icon so you get notifications, and drop a like on any video that you do watch. We appreciate that as well. Follow us and interact with us on all social media pages, PrimeTimeFFPod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, then Facebook and YouTube is Primetime Fantasy Podcast. If you have any other start-sit questions, tweet us and we will answer them before kickoff like we will do every single week. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for interacting, and thank you for sending us your questions. Best of luck in Week 9, and we'll talk to you later this week. Oh, Rashee Rice touchdown. Nice.
Boom!